In this video, we're going to specifically address what happened in the last video when we used the battery to measure the length of the box. We saw that the box was about 3 batteries long, but it wasn't exactly 3 batteries long. So how do you deal with that? And even how do you deal with even if you think that the battery that the box is exactly 3? Well, it turns out there's no such thing as an exact measurement. So even if it had been, but either way, so what do you write down? Okay, so you've gone through that process of making your length measurement. What do you record in your data table? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. So here we have a student. She's looking at a graduated cylinder and she wants to measure. She's in the process of measuring the amount of liquid in that graduated cylinder, and we can see it looks like it's around 500 probably milliliters. And so what is she going to write down? And it's going to depend on her skill level. Well, actually, that's not true. We assume that she is skilled in the use of that particular measuring device. So we're just going to assume that she's doing it correctly, but it also depends on what measuring device you have, okay? And that's we'll talk about that a little bit later. But right now, what do you write down? That's the topic here. All right, so here is the goal. The goal when you make your measurement, at least in theory, now practically speaking, we won't always be doing this, but in theory, and this would be absolutely true if you were doing original research. If you were doing original research, this would be incredibly important. The goal is to make your measurement as precise as possible. You can think of the word precise as tight. That's the way that comes to my mind, like as tight as possible. All right, so make it precise. Well, how do we do that? What does that mean to say precise as possible? How do you put that into practice? Well, here comes a term that many students that have been exposed to this kind of dread, but my goal is to help you to understand why it all makes sense. All right, this is the goal. How do you do that? Okay, you're going to record all significant digits in the measurement. Oftentimes we see the word figure. In fact, that's what I'm going to end up using probably most of the time is significant figures. It's just habit. I see it more, but it's really digits, digits in a measurement. Okay, well that's now what are significant digits? And this is the kind of the absolute rule. And this rule is much easier to see it in action than it is to say it. But this is what you would record in any measurement. In a measurement, these significant digits or significant figures are every digit that you know for sure. So every digit that you know for sure plus one and only one additional digit that represents a reasonable estimate. Okay, you're probably going, what? Well, let's apply it. Okay, I think you'll see it if we can apply it. All right, so here I have some made up measuring device. I don't even know what it's measuring, but it's okay because it's just going to be measuring it in units. Okay, so some units. What would you write down? What would you record if you were looking at this meter? And what would you record in your data table? Well, what I have in the space below here is right here. I have kind of digits left kind of I have like these spaces where where you have the option of recording your digits. Okay, so for example, this would be your, I don't know what the term is, but this would be like where you put your ones, right? And this would be the tens column, and this would be the hundreds column, and this would be the, I don't know what you call it, the point ones column, and this is the 0.01s, and this would be the 0.001, or the thousands. So this would be thousands, hundreds, tenths. Okay, I want to get rid of that. So get rid of that. Okay, so all right. So what would we write down? Well, the rule is write down every digit that you know for sure. Okay, so we know that this thing is going to be between 3 and 4. So we can get rid of, I mean, obviously this was just, hey, we can get rid of that guy and we can get rid of that guy. So the first digit that we know for sure is it's going to be 3 units. But now we keep going. So then you're going to keep going across through the columns until you run out of certainty. And then you're going to go one more to make an estimate. Okay, so now we're going to look at the tenths. And I can see that there's this line and this line. So what is this one right here? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 3.6. And this would be 3.7. So are we sure that this thing is more than 3.6 units and less than 3.7? Yes. So this is, we're going to write down a 6. And so that is significant. Why is it significant? Because it's a digit that we knew for certain. Now, there's no more tick marks. Okay, I hope I didn't mess up by doing that. There are no more tick marks. So now we're kind of left with, well, boy, if I want to go one more digit over, I'd have to be making an estimate. Can we do that? Can we estimate? Yes, absolutely. You are required under the official rules of measurement to actually make that estimate. So now this one we knew for certain, this one we knew for certain, and now this is going to be our reasonable estimate. All right, so I'm going to say 3.6. I'm going to say that that's basically in the hundredths column. That's going to be, could be 3, could be 4. I'm going to say, gut says 3. Okay. You say, well, I say 4. That's fine. It's a reasonable estimate. All right. So what would be the official, what should you write down for this unit? But it would be 3.63 and whatever the units were for this. Okay. That would be the proper measurement given this measuring device. You write down every digit that you know for sure, plus one more digit over that represents a reasonable estimate. Let's look at another example. All right, so here we have I think it looks like aluminum to me, I'm not sure, but we have an aluminum block and I want to know how long it is. And we're using a centimeter ruler. We're using a centimeter ruler. And so the goal is write down every digit that you know for sure, plus every one more that's a reasonable estimate. Okay, so I see that I know, obviously it's more than 0, and I know that it's going to be less than 10. So we're not going to need this tens column, right? It's not going to be 15 centimeters or 20 or 30. So I'll just go ahead and erase that. Now, there's no tick marks for like 1 centimeter too. So basically, I know for sure that it's more than 0. And I know that it's less than 10. So what do I know? That's the one I knew for sure. Okay, so this is a little bit strange because we're actually, our very first and only one we're going to write down is our reasonable estimate. So what do you think this is? What do you think this is? This is our estimate. And what we're going to use our brain just to kind of, what would you think? Okay. And the answer is, in my opinion, is 2. Now, here's a mistake that many students make, and more than just students, is they're going to say, okay, that's about 5, and that's about half, so I'm going to think that's about 2.5. No. That would be overstating the precision of your measurement. You know that it's more than 0 and less than 10, so this has become 0. Now, normally we don't write that, but I'll just leave it there for now. And then you go over one more digit that represents a reasonable estimate because you don't have the tick marks. You don't have the 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay, so the proper measurement for this one, I know I probably made this confusing, is 2 centimeters. it would be a mistake to write down 2.5 centimeters or anything beyond. You must stop at this one. Okay, that one's a little confusing because we don't usually see measuring devices that don't have the tick marks. So now let's see how it might work more typically. This is a more typical kind of measuring device. Okay, it's the same exact block. And now let's use this. So I would say this is a more precise ruler than the previous one because the more tick marks you have, the more precise your measurement can be. All right, so now this one might be a little bit easier. So we know that it's going to be more than 0. So we don't even have to mess with that because we look right there and we go, okay, this thing is more than 2 and less than 3 centimeters. And I know that for sure. That I am certain. C stands for certain. Okay, so that means you must keep going. Now, I see there are no tick marks here, so the next digit over is going to be a reasonable estimate. This is what reasonable estimate means, go with your gut. It's not going to be, so it's going to be point something. So this is going to be our estimate. Okay, it's not going to be 2.9. Okay, that would be crazy. That would be unreasonable, but 2.2. That's what I'm saying. Now you say, well, 2.1. Okay, fine. You may, oh no, 2.3. That's fine. 2.5. I don't think so. Nobody's going to say it's 2.5. So that's 2.2, and we don't want to forget our units, and so we don't need this guy there. So our official, what we should write down, measurement is 2.2 centimeters. Okay, let's keep going. Here's an example of an angle measurement. Okay, so we're going to use these guys, measures. All right, so what do I know? This is my angle measurement. What do I know for sure? Okay, don't look at those guys. Don't look at those guys. Okay, so this is 10 degrees, and this is 20 degrees. So I know that it's going to be more than 10. Okay, so it's going to be more than 10 and less than 20, so I'm going to need my tens column. And so that's going to be a 1. Because there's 10, it's going to be 50, it's going to be something more than 10. Okay, so now I keep going. And so I go 1, 2. So that's 12 degrees, and that's 13 degrees. And I'm absolutely certain that it's more than 12 and less than 13. So this becomes a 2. So it's going to be 12 degrees. Do I stop? No. Because you were certain of this and you're certain of this. So you must go one more digit over, which would be an estimate. So this is where you stop after this guy. So now you make a reasonable estimate. And so you're just looking, what do you think? I don't think it's quite halfway. I think it's a little bit, it's almost half, it's not quite half. I'm going to say 12.4 degrees. So my measurement that I would write down is 12.4 degrees. What about if you said 12.43? No, you can't do that because this guy would be a guess. Estimates, yes. Guesses, no. Okay, let's do one more. Another example, measuring volume. It doesn't say, but I just think it's going to be milliliters. Okay, and I see that this is my 60 milliliter, and this is my 70 milliliter mark, I think. Pretty sure I got that right. And so this is 65 milliliters. So in terms of just thinking, well, I'm not gonna have the little placeholder things, but I'm still thinking about that though. So, all right, so I know that it's more than 60. It's more than 60 and less than 70. So it's going to start out, my very first digit is going to be the tens column. It's going to be 6. And then how far do we go? I don't know. Let's find out. I'm certain that this water level is above 60 and below 70. Then I see that, oh, there's these smaller tick marks, and those are the ones column. And so I see that this is 64 is there, and that's 65 ml. And so I know it's kind of, this is a little weird, but this is, we're going to get into errors in measurement later, but just, I know that it's more than 60 and less than, I know that it's more than 64 and less than 65. So I'm going to write down 64, and I am certain of those. So should I stop? No, you cannot stop, because you have to wait until you get to an estimate. And that is going to be the next digit, okay? Because there's no more tick marks between 64 and 65. All right, so it's a little bit messy because you can see that there's this undulation here. So, hey, no measurement's going to be exact. But I'm going to say, just for to wrap this up, is that is halfway-ish. So my last one's going to be 64.5. So I know I'm going off the camera here. 64.5 milliliters is what you should write down. Now, you might say 64.4. Fine. You could say 64.6. Fine. Okay, but you would want to have 3 digits. So this has 3 significant digits. Let me go back and finish real quick here. Never mind. We'll just stop here. We'll talk. Sorry.